No, we're also very happy to have you as a speaker. I just told you I love the way you communicate, the storytelling, but also you can go deep, you can really talk about experience from all those projects that you do. And I think, as you mentioned before, there's a huge task ahead in making, let's say, one of the largest hardware companies to become a software company. So I mean, obviously you can't share everything, but how do you cope with that? How are your nights?
Yeah, absolutely. So the challenge that we have is, I think, one of the most exciting challenges in the coming decade, right? So like the VW Group CEO Herbert Diess says, automotive software, we have the chance with automotive software to become create an industry-leading standard and compete with other players. But we really have to embrace the change right now. And it starts on the cultural, on the mindset level, right? Embracing software as a generator of profit, not just as an expense pool, and making sure that we can generate value with software. And that's very different from creating hardware at first. And the company is excellent in creating great products with a great quality, focusing on hardware. Now we need to make the shift to software. And then AI is even the next step of software development, right? So we need to think today already, what data do we want to collect in a few years from now, right? So how do we want to improve the customer experience? How do we want to analyze the customers? How do we want to optimize the processes to save costs on other parts? And laying the foundation to also create value with AI in the future is what keeps me up at night.
Very nice, very nice. And I think, I mean, you guys surprised the industry by being the first, I think, German manufacturer who came out with implementing over-the-air updates. Is this correct?
At least volume manufacturer, absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Really, really cool. Yeah, I think this was a surprise. So where do you see maybe the benefits or maybe the knowledge of producing great cars at a high volume, maybe something that you can leverage for developing software? Like, for example, the way you manage processes or how is there something that you think can also be an asset for the future that maybe a pure software player would not have?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So we are going to have one of the largest data collection fleets in the world, right? So we are going to have 40 million connected vehicles by 2030. And I personally don't know all the awesome use cases that we can create with all the data. Like you can come up with a gazillion use cases of how you can use those data collection devices to flexibly collect valuable data and to create value for the end customer then afterwards. So that is very important. The second other important topic is that the hardware, it's hard to change the hardware as quickly as the software, right? So the software development life cycles are much quicker or can be much quicker than the hardware development life cycles. And here the over-the-air updates are the fundamental shift, right? That's the key to unlock it, to unlock the value through software in the future. And I'm very happy about the steps that we're taking. And I can totally agree. I love the commitment by VW Group, right? They're going really all in, investing heavily in CARIAD. And we're taking the challenge head on.
How many people are you at CARIAD at the moment?
About 4,500.
Okay.
And exactly, we're also looking for the best and brightest data and AI folks to join us. So please reach out if you're interested in joining our mission.
Yes, awesome. And you could work with this great guy. So awesome. So you touched one thing you said about, 40 million cars then that are collecting data will still be less than maybe people who are using their phones, Android or iPhones in the car. But do you think of some use cases already where the more sensors that you have in the car because the phone stays a phone, right? So it's really hard to make rain detection or something with your phone, right? Yeah. So is there anything how are you thinking about this?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the main advantage of the car over the phone is that you can collect image data quite easily when you're driving around. Obviously, you have to be GDPR compliant. You have to make sure you protect people's privacy when collecting their data. Yes. But you can create very accurate understanding of what the world around you looks like and not also looks like. You can also create a good understanding of what the world around you smells like in a very hyper-local, hyper-precise position, right? So imagine putting sensors in that test the air quality. I believe in Berlin, don't quote me on this, but we have 3 to 5 air quality stations that measure the air quality. 3 to 5. Okay, now imagine many cars from VW Group driving around and accurately measuring the air quality in different areas and just providing a much better also hyper-personalized recommendation of, where the air quality might be a little bit better, might be a little bit worse. And that's just one of the many examples you can think about, right? So I see data as the fundamental driver of future growth. And we're going to have access to a lot of data, and I just really can't wait to unlock the potential of it.
Awesome. And I mean, I don't know if you want to touch on this topic, but I mean, the Volkswagen concern obviously has been through some kind of political issues and everything. And then now I think with the rebranding in terms of software with new leadership, where do you see it going? I mean, you were a cool guy, you could work for any company. And what is it? Why should I join if I'm a developer? Why should I join CARIAD when I can go to, I don't know, one of the big 5 US companies or
So I think the challenge at hand, but also opportunities are unprecedented, honestly, right? So the severity of the change that we're facing in the automotive industry is unseen before. And if you want to work on something that's really going to impact the lives of the people who live in Europe, who drive around in Europe and who work in Europe, you can have a huge, tremendous impact exactly here and use your talents to help this automotive company and also the automotive industry, make the right turn and be future-proof to really make sure that we can also sustain the value that we create here in Europe also in the future.
Thank you. Awesome. Okay, so I have one more question because I loved your vision for a large company like Volkswagen. I love how you tackle this challenge, even being a young leader in the field. So I think, from our more technical people out there, what is it that you really do? Are you talking about machine learning and then I'm joining and then I do Excel all day, or what is it that you're really doing? What are the technical challenges?
Absolutely, thank you. So I'm going to go from high level to low level, okay? So bear with me. So the big vision is to create the car as part of a platform. So we're really trying to create a platform. Like I said earlier, I don't know all the awesome use cases that people like you, other people can come up with in 2030 to develop cool AI-based applications based on data. So what we need to be able to do, we need to create a future single scalable platform, the SSP, what VW Group is developing, in which we want to flexibly collect data, in which we want to collect valuable data, so make sure that we don't just record the same data sitting at a red light for 10 minutes, that's not as valuable, but making targeted data collection, valuable data collection, and to connect the devices, the cars, to the backend. And then provide this machine learning workflow, what I talked about earlier also, with an AI development toolchain in the cloud to all the developers. Now, that's what we're actually working on. So on the one hand, we are really designing the future single scalable platform and making sure it is AI ready. We have an article about that on our website also, feel free to check it out.
What's the name of the article?
Creating an AI ready architecture.
Okay, cool.
Okay. And so we really need to make sure that this car architecture has enough GPU power. One topic that we're looking into is AI hardware acceleration. So making sure that we provide the right hardware with the latency and the energy consumption requirements also
in the car.
In the car, exactly, necessary to optimize for machine learning development. And then on the development toolchain side, we're working very intensively on a tool called MLOps to provide the right testing and scalability for machine learning implementations for the other teams. Because I lead the central AI development team, but we have many brilliant decentral AI teams, and I can also just share a few topics what they work on concretely. So one team is, for instance, working on recognizing you as the owner of the vehicle before you enter the vehicle, right? So using AI to recognize you and then personalize the in-car setup when it knows, Alex is coming already, let's start up the engine, let's heat the AC, exactly, and the seat to make sure that Alex is comfortable. Or if someone else, your friends, is coming, then they can also adjust it personally, right? Then obviously on the autonomous driving function side, right, there's a lot of AI. We're increasing the footprint of AI from video perception to sensor fusion and path planning, and those teams need support, right? So they need this AI-ready architecture and AI development toolchain. Then we have another wonderful project where we use sound, what I said earlier, to understand the environment. Are sirens coming from the back left? Are sirens coming from the top right? How wet are my tires, right? How deep are the tires right now? So that's the topic that we're working on. Another topic topic that we're working on is auto-labeling. So we talked about data quality earlier, and the more we can use auto-labeling to create accurate labels and reduce the time that external labelers have to do to create really good data quality labels for us, the better. And that's a project that's really advanced and really awesome. It's also developed by another team that we're supporting. And then last but not least, I also want to mention that we have a team that's creating value with AI for customers already in the mobility industry, right? So there's a mobility pattern predictions, where we use data from your ID3 or ID4, obviously with your consent only, to predict where you're going in the future, to optimize the charging around that route, and to optimize also the navigation around that route, and many other ways to analyze the data with machine learning and artificial intelligence to provide value to users really today. And this is really just a tiny excerpt of the project that we're working on. We have over 60 AI projects.
Cool.
And CARIAD is investing heavily in artificial intelligence. We have more than 120 data scientists and data engineers growing again also. So if you decide to join us, don't worry. There are more than enough fun topics to work on and not too much Excel.
Cool. Sounds awesome. I just, as you talked, I remember a colleague who just bought a Porsche Taycan, and then he said, well, for him it's really important that the AI that kind of optimizes his route in terms of the speed he can go, where the chargers are free, the traffic. So I think this is a huge benefit if you manage this correctly, right? Yeah. Besides the hardware itself, because does it make sense, or are you working on that?
Absolutely. And another great example where centralization makes sense, right? So you do not need a separate charging route planner for ID3, for your Audi e-tron, for your Taycan. You know, the charging stations are there, so you can potentially utilize the same routing planner, optimize it for different brands and for different experience, obviously. But that's what we're actively working on at CARIAD today, right? To provide those central route planning, central AI there to make life easier for our customers. Right?
And would you even do this actively then? I mean, like that you kind of, because now it's all passive, right? Yeah. Also, Google Maps is passive, as far as I know. So it's kind of checking, okay, what's going on, but it's not. I remember one project done by colleagues from the VW Data Lab, Flo Neukart, with quantum computing, where they were actually steering in real time using quantum computers. Yeah. Do you know this example? Yeah. So is this something? I mean, it's kind of crazy, and I don't know if this is all doable, but just as an idea. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, we have a large innovation pipeline, and like quantum computing and AI, and especially route optimization, is certainly a topic that we're looking into. We at CARIAD, we really focus on serious implementation, really, but we still have pre-development and innovation projects in our pipeline, and quantum computing and is certainly one of the topics that we're looking into.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex.